Hey, I'm going to be reading from the book of Matthew this morning. So, if you want to turn to chapter 5, which is a great chapter, by the way, one of the best. How many of you know, and I'm sure you do, we live in a crazy world. Things have changed so in the last even 25 years. It's just, we have so many murders and thefts and people hurting each other and divorce and it's just crazy. I don't know, starts out, I don't know why, but I do, sin. But, however, it just seems that things have changed. Now, one of the things that changed, of course, COVID changed our lives, didn't it? And while I'm not a business person as such, I don't own a business, I am, however, complaining about customer service. Right? Especially since COVID. It seems our world turned around at that time, and people decided customer service didn't matter, being nice to people didn't matter. You could be what you wanted to. And somehow COVID just overshadowed that, spread, and I'm like, no, it's still bad. So now, I don't own a business, but I am a consumer. I'm not an expert in business, but I am a consumer. So I do know that there were companies who laid people off. I understand that. And during COVID, and I also know that some people found other jobs, and so they didn't come back. And so things got hard. People always ask for money, but they don't seem to want to work. So I have a little problem with that. My dad told me, he said, if you quit school, I'm telling you, you're going to work or you going back to school. And he meant it. I found that during this time, that businesses decided they could do less for the consumer. Did you notice that? They don't do as much. And I do not believe that there has been a lot of attempt to rectify that. There's not been a lot of effort to bring customer service back to or up to the level that we once knew. Now, I don't know how many people are bothered by that, but I am. I'm just saying I am. I said all that to say this. Nobody seems to want to go out of their way to do a little extra, or even sometimes to do whatever even is expected of them. So I went to an eyeglass place, I'm not going to name it, and I said, I want to get some glasses. And they said, okay. So I picked them out, and I liked them, and I said, I think they'll do well. Here's my prescription. And I'd bought glasses there before. And so what should have been 4 or 5 days is now turning into 2 or 3 weeks. And I called them, I said, what's the problem? Well, they just haven't sent them, and you're going to get them soon. Okay. Finally, the day arrived, and it came time to get them, and I went up and got them and sat down in front of me, and he handed me the glasses. Oh, I like them. But these are not it, by the way. And so I put them on. I'm like, great. I like them. They fit well. They snug to my face. They're sunglasses, prescription. I said, I can see. Everything looks good until I looked down. And I couldn't read nothing. And I said, whoa, these ain't right. He said, that's what you ordered. I said, I don't think I would have ordered glasses I can't see out of. So he says, something's wrong. I said, you're right. I can't read. That's the problem. So he said, let me get your prescription. So he went and got a prescription, and he brought it back, and he had my old prescription, and he said, I see the problem. I said, I do too. I can't see the problem. That's my problem. He looks at it, and he says, your eye doctor left off the close vision part of it. I said, what are we going to do? He said, well, we got to send them back and have them redone. I said, okay. He said, but we got to have another prescription. I said, no, we don't. Write $250 in on that one and let's go. 2.5 or whatever, plus whatever. He said, I can't do it. It's against the law. I said, since when does that stop anything? So he didn't agree. But anyway. So I said, to use my old prescription. He said, can't do it. It's against the law. I said, boy, this is going to be a problem. So he said, what? I said, what do we got to do? He said, got to call your doctor. I said, okay. So I, right there in front of him, called my eye doctor. And I said, hey, to his nurse, who was right snooty. And I said, there's a problem. Came to get my glasses. It doesn't have the close vision part of it, the reading part of it. She said, oh. She looked. She said, no, doctor forgot to put it on there. I said, I have it put on there. Email it right back to her. She said, I don't know if I can do that. I said, oh, yeah, you can do it. If you try hard enough, you can do it. She said, let me see what the doctor says. I said, okay, get back with me. Come find out, doctor's in Hilton Head working that day, or at least claimed to be. And she called him, and a little bit she called him back and said, he went ahead and authorized it. We dialed it in. We just faxed it back. I said, good. The boy said, if I get it back today, I can put it in, and it'll be another. So customer service, at best, is unexpected anymore to us. Years ago, I hired a young guy to do our music and be our youth pastor, which is a tough job, either one of them. And he was the nicest kid. I call him a kid. He was just a young boy, young man. He could play a piano, sing. He was good. But he was not the best at, whenever he did a task, at completing that task, carrying it through, seeing it through. So he got married during that time, and that made it even worse. So he and his new wife went on a little vacation or something one time, and I said to him, I won't call his name, I said, have you got everything taken care of? Yes, sir, everything's good. I said, okay. So there was an upcoming youth event for the whole section that I was in, and I drove. Teresa couldn't go for some reason. I got a young man to church ride with me. I said, let's go down and be in this youth service. He said, okay, 40 miles. So we drove. And when I pull up in the churchyard parking lot, there wasn't a car in sight. I said, something ain't good. I'm pretty smart. I catch on quick. I said, not good. And about that time, he come rolling in from his little vacation, honeymoon, whatever. Car is packed to the gills. Everything just about hanging out is packed in there so hard. And I rolled down the window, or maybe I got out, and I said, hey, we supposed to be having a youth thing here tonight? He said, yes, sir. I said, you understand there's nobody in the parking lot? He said, yes, sir. I said, did you advertise it? I said, did you write a letter to all the churches? Did you call anybody? No, sir. Then how do you expect them to be here? Tell me how that works. By this time, I got fire shooting out my eyes. I am madder than I've ever been in my life. I've just got dressed, driven 40 miles to find out he didn't follow through. I didn't say a word. Got back in my truck and slammed the door. Guy that was riding with me got in. He's sitting over there like this. And I'm driving 40 miles back to where I live. I ain't even talking. I'm so mad. I know you shouldn't get that mad, but I was a sinner. No, I wasn't. Maybe that day. And I'm just fuming. And we get to a four-way stop in a pretty good intersection. I just blow through it. And I'm about 200 or 300 yards past it, and I go, oh, man, that's running a stop sign. And I turned to the guy with me. I said, why didn't you tell me? He's like, he told me later that I was scared to say anything. And I remember getting on Later, I was able to regain my composure. And I talked to him the next day in the office, and I said, if you ever do that again, you are going to enjoy wherever you work next, because you're not going to enjoy it here. I was mad. You know, we have to understand that there are symptoms and problems, but we have to understand how to overcome it. Now, I said all that to say this. In this verse that I'm going to read to you, these verses, Jesus is presenting a principle of what I call abundant life or abundant living. This verse, I believe, has enough in it that if we were to practice it in the church, in the world, in the workforce, in the home, everywhere, school, wherever, if we were to practice the principles that Jesus is laying down here, I'm telling you, it would change the world. There's no doubt in my mind. And that's what Jesus, and in all of chapter 5, it's all about Jesus teaching us principles that cause us to live a better life. Now, I don't know about you, but I'm all for living a better life. That's a good thing, and so I like that. So, let me go to verse 40. Let's go to 38. Let's go to 38. And you have heard that it was said, an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. Apparently, Jesus' world was crazy too. But I say to you, do not resist the one who is evil. But if anyone slaps you on the right cheek, turn to him the other also. Anybody else have a problem with that? I have two cheeks. After the second one, you're on your own. And if anyone would sue you and take away your tunic, let him have your cloak as well. Jesus is teaching this. And if anyone, he's going through the whole scenario, forces you to go 1 mile, go with him 2 miles. Give to the one who begs from you, and do not refuse the one who would borrow from you. Wow. What? Let's don't stop there. Let me go a little ways. And you have heard it said, you shall love your neighbors and hate your enemies. But I say to you, love your neighbors, pray for those who persecute you, so that you may be sons of your Father who is in heaven. For he makes the sun rise on the evil and the good, and sends rain on the just and the unjust. Anybody else look at that verse and go, that's a hard verse to cover. That's a hard verse to live with. That's a hard verse to do. So what is Jesus doing here? That's the main thing we need to understand. What is he doing here? So to understand that, we have to go back. But let me tell you a story. There was a little boy, Sunday school class teacher, and she asked her students to memorize their verse. Well, their verse happened to be this one. And so the little boy learns it, the kids learn it, and they came back to church the next day. And so the teacher said, what's your verse? And the little boy said, I know it. So she repeats it so they'll be sure to get it. And here's what the little boy says as she refreshes their memories. And so he says, the little boy says, whoever shall compel you to go 1 mile, go with him by train. If you read that in the New King James, or the King James Version, you'll understand that. So I said all of that to make you understand. We have to understand that Christ is representing or presenting a principle of abundant living, a principle to make us us. It's good for us. It's good for us. Let me give you the background because it's important. I don't think you can quite understand this without understanding the setting of this verse. Whenever the Roman Empire took over, Christianity was just beginning. Christians were despised. Jews were despised. And so the Romans, when they came into a new province or a new town, they would take a yoke and they would put it in the marketplace and or a entrance to town. And so everybody that came through, sometimes they made everybody, sometimes just the leaders of the people, signifying that they were promising, they were making a promise when they went under the yoke, they were making a promise that they would give their allegiance, their obedience, they would give a tribute to the Roman Empire. Now, this didn't set well with Jewish people. It didn't set well with new Christians. So the Roman Empire was one of those things that they despised, and one of those things that they promised was to go under this thing and say, we'll give you our allegiance. Now, they didn't like that. Whenever a Roman soldier or a Roman official wanted you to carry his pack for a mile or run an errand for a mile or guide him for a mile, it was a must. You didn't have any say so. You couldn't say, no, I'm not going to do it. You had to do it. So this was a humiliating experience for the Jewish nation. It's been said in some study that except in the case of an emergency, no one would be required to go further than a mile. So all the little boys in that area would mark off from their house 1 mile this way and 1 mile this way. So if a Roman official came by and had a pack and he said to you, come carry this thing a mile, you'd carry that at a mile, and at the end of that mile, you could lay it down and walk away. Watch this now. With that in mind, I imagine that day, there was no one thing that Jesus said that upset an audience like that. That one sentence, that one verse, that one statement, if he shall ask you to carry it 1 mile, you carry it 2. Carry it 1 more mile than what you're expecting. So I can almost see them listening intently, looking at one another, marveling at what Jesus has said. Chapter 5 is a powerful chapter. Don't do it now, but later, go back and look at it. So I can imagine they're looking at him, their minds are listening to what he's got to say. He's dropping some new stuff on them, and then all of a sudden, he gives them this verse. If someone compels you to go 1 mile, go with them 2. You can almost see their mouths drop open, like some of you this morning. If anyone forces you, he probably said, to go 1 mile, go with him 2 miles. Oh, see, you got to understand. You can almost see them clench their fists. You can see them shaking their heads. You can see them looking at Jesus in amazement. What is he saying? And I'm thinking they're going, does he mean that he approves of the Roman Empire and all of their teaching, that they should obey them whenever they're made to go a mile? What is he doing? I don't know that anything that Christ ever said shocked them like that statement did, because it throws him in a new light. Oh, he's a betrayer. He's taken the Roman side against us. you can imagine how they would feel, how we would feel if we had say a politician, well, that's probably not a good example, but they tell us one thing and then do something else, or then tell us something we weren't expecting. I mean, it's kind of gets you. And so I'm looking at this verse because I got to tell you, somebody slaps me, it takes all I can do not to slap them back. I'm a little better than I used to be. Don't try me. Just saying. What does he mean here? Just take this verse, pull it out. What does it mean? It's like this message this morning. He's laying down principles, good principles, living principles. And he's doing it to help us. He's not doing it to be mean. He's not saying to them, do this because I don't like you, do it because I'm mad at you. He's doing it because he knows this principle is helping them. How is helping me go, or requesting I go 2 miles, helping me? I want to talk to you about that. He is simply saying, do just a little more than you're required, or reasonably expected to do. Now, lest you don't believe that, how many of you go into a business today and think, I wish they'd do a little more. I wish they'd at least respect me. Have you gone into a hamburger place? I started to call McDonald's, but I wouldn't. And they have these boards up there, these kiosks, I think they call them. Now, they're not bad if you're 4 years old, but if you're 74 years old, they're not as fun, right? So you bypass it, I have, and you go to the counter and you go, and they look at you. Not that they don't see you, they see you. They look around the corner. That guy's actually standing at the counter. I know there's a cash register in front of him, but, you know, we don't want to do that. And you're standing there. You don't know what to do. You go, and they go, and they walk over there. What do you want? A little respect would be nice. So we really do like that. We want to be served. It's okay to say that word, isn't it? We want to be respected. We want to do all that is to do. We just want people to do what they're paid to do. But how many of them know that's not happening today? In a lot of businesses, that's not happening. One of the best places around here is Chick-fil-A. They train their people to be kind, considerate. They speak to you when you walk in. They help you. They wait on you and do it with a smile. That didn't just happen overnight. That happened when Truett Cathy started that business ever how long ago in the south side of Atlanta, and he started a chicken place, and he waited on people. I knew Truett when he was older in life. I rode motorcycles with him. Patricia and I have been to his home. He still lived in the same little house that he had lived in for 50 years. He's a billionaire, and he lives in a 1,900, 2,000 square foot ranch house. And he was just super helpful. Even in his older age, he would go into a restaurant, and the next thing you knew, Truett's over there cleaning off a table. Or he's bringing you food. Or he's handing you a free sandwich. And he taught those principles to those who went to work for him so that they would then do those things and pass it on. And they've got, whether you like their food or don't like their food or whatever, you have to give them the incredible thoughts of, you know what customer service is about. So what's wrong with that? Customer service, or being kind, as in Jesus' point here, is always going to better everything that it's around. It's just a principle. It's a principle he laid down before there was a fast food restaurant in Jerusalem. He was there. So on the Sermon of the Mount that he's doing prior to this, he was talking about happiness and abundant life, and the whole sermon alone was about this, and you cannot have abundant life without practicing what I call the second mile. So what happens in the second mile? Just what is that all about? One, the second mile always leaves happiness in the heart of the one who travels that second mile. What do you mean by that? It's like, you know, we know that we're required, or should know, that we tithe. That's what God's people do. But going the extra mile is like giving an offering above your tithe. It's not required, but it makes you feel good, right? Some of you don't feel real good, I can tell. It makes you feel good. I gave a little extra. I gave to this project or that project. I didn't have to. Preacher's not going to dun me, but I did, and it made me feel good. And especially it's like that, you know, going the extra mile brings that extra blessing. It may not bring it tangibly or in any other financial way. It may bring it through the happiness that you feel. It may bring it through a lot of other things. Jesus is saying, do more than is required of you to do, and you'll be blessed. Whether it's saying kind words to people or helping people or doing whatever. He's looking out for our benefit. Get this through your mind. It's not Jesus saying, hey guys, if those stupid Romans come in here and tell you to carry their package for a mile, you go 2 miles. He's saying, this is what's good for you. I'm not caring about the Romans. I'm caring about you. So that's what he's talking about here today. I was reading it, and I read this conversation that a salesman had. He was off from home back when they used to have pay phones. Some of y'all don't know about that. Back when they had pay phones, you had to put in the money. And so he's talking to his wife, and he's talking to her, and he gets through, and he says, honey, I'll see you soon. I'll be there. And she said, okay, and he hangs up. And he starts to walk away, and he hears the phone ring. So he turns around and goes back over and he picks it up. He's thinking that they're going to say to him, you need to pay more money because you've made this long-distance phone call or whatever. And the operator said, I just wanted to let you know your wife said when she hung up, she loves you. She went that second mile, probably bailed him out because he probably called her back and went, honey, I just wanted to say I love you. Liar. No. So he's looking out for our benefit. Whenever God teaches us something like Matthew 5, it's for our good. Now, I got to tell you, it's a little bit like having to take castor oil. It ain't good to taste, but boy, it's good for you. And that's what this first part of this verse is all about. This is what the second mile is about. This is what about if somebody slaps you, turn the other cheek. All of these things are not for the benefit of those you're doing them for. It's for your benefit. God is trying to help you get along in life in a better way. Pastor, how's getting along in life? Letting somebody trample on me. Well, you don't know what kind of day they're having. I found out on the glass case that the boy actually told me, he said, I'm sorry that it's taken so long for this first pair. The first pair come in 4 days. What's the problem? He said, they kept falling out. The lenses kept popping out. He said, they wasn't any good. So I sent them back. Of course, they come back and then they were wrong, so that's another 6 or 8 weeks. I said, you know what? It would have been nice if you just picked up the phone and said, Mr. Riner, glasses came in, but they ain't working too good, so I sent them back. Just a phone call, just a talk. So this is, the whole point is that he is trying to help us. Second mile then calls for the best in other people. Watch this now. You cannot possibly travel the second mile without influencing other people and hopefully starting them on their journey of the second mile. Whether it's your wife or your husband or your children or your job or whatever it is, you can cause them to begin to want to travel the extra mile. When you speak good, have you ever found somebody they're having a bad day and they're waiting or serving you, and you can just tell they are mad at the world. But you speak something good to them. You just speak kindness to them. You just say, understand. Or, looks like you're having a bad day. Can I do something? Can I have prayer for you? It just changes their whole attitude. It changes who they are. And it makes them see that that's a good way to be. I love how John Wesley, the great preacher, he provides, I think, the most convicting analysis on what it means to be a true servant. Here's what he says. Do all the good you can by all the means you can, in all the ways you can, in all the places you can, at all times you can, and to all people you can, as long as you can. Now, I got to tell you, you live by that principle, that's a good principle. That's a good way to live. People have, in our society, have the tendency to say, I don't want nobody getting over on me. I don't want somebody taking advantage of me. And so we put up this wall that keeps us from being the people who live like Jesus taught us we ought to live and going the second mile. We put up that defense wall. I'm not being nice to anybody. I'm not going the second mile. I'm not doing the extra. Somebody will take advantage of me. And you know what? You're probably right. But God's concerned with how you feel and how you become a better person and how we, as he goes on to say in those verses later, show people we're sons of God and not of the devil. Thirdly, the second mile lightens life's burdens. The second mile is one of the, I think, greatest principles that Jesus ever gave for unity in the home. I guarantee you we'd have less divorce, less trouble, less problems raising our children if we practice the second mile. I honestly believe that if one person in the home, doesn't matter who it is, would practice the second mile that Jesus is talking about, that he or she alone could transform a home. How many homes would be saved if we'd do a little more than was expected of us to do? Do a few nicer things than anybody had the right to ask us to do. Instead of going the love mile, as Jesus is expressing here, somebody called it, in this passage, we want to subtract from it, leaving something that is vitally important to do. And so look for a moment at the extra mile, the walk. So I do marriage counseling from time to time. I don't like it. I'm just telling you. Because I found out people don't like it. I mean, they don't listen to what you have to say. They just blow it off. But I was counseling one day, and I always thought, you know, if you gave 50% and your mate gave 50%, you're good. And then I read Josh McDowell's book. And Josh McDowell says, that's not accurate. You're to give 100% and expect nothing. I'm going, but if I give 100%, what if she don't give 100%? That's not your problem. That's her problem. Your duty is to give 100%. And then I'm thinking, wow, that would revolutionize marriage. It would revolutionize the unity between a husband and a wife. All of a sudden, I'm not expecting anything. All I'm doing is doing my part. I'm going to do 100%. I didn't tell anybody, but after service this morning, I used that illustration. Somebody said, I bet Teresa'd be happy with 30. I said, I believe she'd settle for 20. But you think about it. If you're giving 100% expecting nothing, what kind of marriage that's going to be? We'd put marriage counselors out of business. We'd put divorce courts out of business. Because people would then go above and beyond, always doing for the next person. I know you're going to get ripped off sometime. I understand sometimes it doesn't work that way. But if it did, if we went on the principles that Jesus is laying down for those Jews that day, we would change this world. I love illustration I heard, and it's called a prayer to God's prayer. Here's what it says. Good afternoon, I am God. Today, I'll be handling all of your problems. Please remember that I do not need your help. If the devil happens to deliver a situation that you cannot handle, do not attempt to resolve it. Kindly put it on the SFJTD list box. That's something for Jesus to do. It will be addressed by my time and not yours. And once the matter is placed into the box, do not hold on to it. Do not attempt to remove it. Holding on to it or removing it will delay the resolution to your problem. If the situation that you think you're able to handle, please consult me in prayer to be sure that it's a proper assumption. Because I do not sleep or slumber, there's no need for you to worry, lose any sleep about it. Rest. If you need to contact me, I'm only a prayer away. So that's what God is teaching us. He's teaching us that we don't have to carry every burden, that we absolutely understand that He has given us the peace to understand that if I'm asked or required or need to go to second mile, doing so takes that heavy burden away from me. Last thing. The second mile often requires sacrifice. I'm not saying that you're jumping for joy every time you're approached about the second mile. I'm pretty sure there's times that I go, I don't want to do that. I'm pretty sure that those people listening to Jesus that day kind of stood there with their mouths open going, what is He asking us to do? Not understanding that what He's asking them is for their good and for their comfort. But I also know this. Whatever Jesus asks us to do is because He's already gone before us. I don't believe He ever gave a command that is He Himself didn't live. The greatest second mile comes in His life. We came into this world, sin came in, we blew it all up, we become terrible people. I'm scratching my toes because my nerves in my back are making them itch. We destroyed the perfect world that He wanted it to be. He never intended on us to live like we live, to devour people, to treat people badly, to hurt one another, all of the things. He never intended on that. His intention was that we would live the right life. And all of His principles that He teaches is part of that. But man blew it. We become destructive. We become selfish. We become temper tantrums, a lot of things. So He needed to go the second mile. And it's written in John 3:16, for God so loved the world, there's that word, that He gave. That He went the second mile. That He understood we wasn't worth it. Romans tells us, but God commends His love to us in that while we were yet sinners, Christ died for us. He didn't wait till we deserved it. He didn't wait until we were worth it. He just said, I'm going the second mile. I'm going to do what they can't do for themselves. I'm going to carry their burden, not only the mile, but I'm going to go a second mile. For God so loved the world that He gave. He gave His only begotten Son, that whosoever believeth Him should not perish but have everlasting life. I am totally convinced that God is always trying to teach us how to have the best life. Think about it. Think about it. If you based your whole life on that principle, I'm going to do the best I can do. That means serving. That means going the extra mile. That means whatever I find to do it with all of my might. All of the principles that God has laid down for us is boiled into that one. Just like the commandments are boiled into love the Lord thy God with all your heart, soul, mind, and body. Love your neighbor as yourself. So he said, if someone compels you, they force you, they push you, go the mile. But then when you get to the end of it, don't quit. Go one more mile. Take it a little further. Show them a different way. And so that's what he's talking about here. And when I did all of this, I sat down and thought to myself, how many second miles do I go? How many second miles? Teresa was gone and some others gone to the district thing that they have up there for leaders. I was home by myself. When I'm home by myself, I don't do as well. Give her a little accolade here. She keeps me straight. And so, little garage where I house my motorcycle, I'd come home and left it there and went in the house. It's getting late, dark at night, almost. And I get a text. My cousin Ryan, he said, hey, did you know your garage is open where your motorcycle is? I said, no, thanks for reminding me. And I went out and closed it. You don't think much about that, but it's just a good idea. Just a good thing to do. He didn't have to. He could have said, ain't none of my business. But he didn't. And then Teresa come home yesterday evening, and it's about 6 o'clock, and she said, do you know your garage is where your motorcycle is? You know? And I'm going, no, but I've been reminded once it has been. I began to think about miles. How many extra miles have I gone? Do I do those things that are good? And I'm not doing them to get rewarded. I'm doing them because Jesus suggested that's the right thing to do. But what does it do for me? How does it make you feel when you've gone the extra mile? You've done the thing you wasn't required to do. I long for the day when we get back to customer service. I long for the day to walk into some place and they go, hey, how can we help you today? And they go the extra mile. So I'm in to give an accolades today. Have y'all been to the new Ace Hardware here? They're great people. They don't just show you. They don't say, oh, that's down on aisle 32. They like, let me show you. And so they take you and do it. Things like that are the principles that God's laying down. You say, Pastor, what does that got to do with anything? It has to do with great marriages, great children, great jobs, great work. All of it has to do with that, living the principles of God. So think about it a second. Where's your second mile? What's the one what's the one you've done? You wasn't required to do it, but you did it. And how did it make you feel? And isn't that what Jesus is saying? I'm going to tell you something. If I do any more marriage counseling, I want to tell them the second mile principle. And if you do this, your marriage will last a lot longer. I ain't saying it'll be perfect, but when you're giving and not taking, there's chances are it's going to be a better life. So I'm getting you out of here at 12:02. That was my goal today. I'm tired of preaching long. Took me 2 weeks to preach, 4 weeks to preach the last 2 sermons I preached. So here we go. Let's pray. Father, I just want to be what you want me to be. I want to do what you've called us to do so that when people see that, they go, he's a son of God. You told us, Jesus, so that they would know that we're children of the Father. I know how it makes me feel when my kids do things that people say, oh, that's like your dad. And I want people to look at me when I do things and go, hey, he's like his father. And so, Lord, I want to begin to try to practice principles of life. I want to try to live by those things that you've taught us. And I may fail, but Lord, I want to get up and try it again. And I don't want to be worried whether or not I'm going to get the respect and or the accolades that I deserve. I just want to be the Son of God. I just want to be a child of the Father. Lord, it's going to help my marriage. It's going to help my pastoring. It's going to help our church, because it's going to begin to do things for the people who are here. And that's who you're for today. You're for us. And you're trying to bring us to that place of being like you. They railed on you and they crucified you. You didn't speak ill of them. You were the Son of God. So, Lord, help us today to go the second mile, to do above and beyond what is expected, and be the kind of person you want us to be. In Jesus' name, amen. Hey, see if you can spot who's new.